my name is Richard Ayres and I'm the product manager here at Soundcraft for the SI series of digital consoles. Today we'll be looking at the Soundcraft SI Performer consoles. SI Performer was built with the heritage of thousands of sales of SI Compact, VI1 and SI series to build an incredibly powerful and versatile small format mixer for live sound, houses of worship, presentations and anywhere else where you need incredible versatility, lots of power in a small box. There are two models in the SI Performer series. The Performer 2, which we're using here today, 24 faders and 24 mic pre's integrated to the console, and a larger Performer 3 with 32 faders and 32 mic pre's built into the console. Apart from the differences in I/O and fader count, the features and facilities offered by all the consoles in the Performer range is almost identical. Let's take a quick tour of the console and see what we have. 24 mic inputs, 32 on Performer 3, 8 line inputs, AES in, 16 balanced line outputs, AES out, 2 option slots compatible with the SI option cards and Soundcraft Studer stage boxes, Ethernet, USB and a DMX out, an illuminated recessed headphone socket. At the heart of the SI Performer is the Encoder processor, offering 80 simultaneous channels to mix, mixing to 35 buses over 25 independent mixes, 40-bit floating point architecture, quad stereo lexicon processors with dedicated buses and returns, dynamics, parametric EQ and graphic EQ on all the buses all of the time. The Assignable channel strip offers 27 encoders, each with a dedicated function and LED roundel. Direct access to all audio switch functions with interrogate feature. 22 totem one-touch mix keys. Colour touchscreen. Quad stereo lexicon processors. Dedicated effects control section with tap function for each effects processor. Dedicated left-right master. Assignable mono master. 4 fully assignable fader layers. Direct access to the GEQ. Direct access to the Q control and Q list. VCA and mute setup with 8 mute masters. 100mm motorized faders with fader glow. Color backlit LCD displays. Metering of level and all dynamics processes. Multifunction text display per fader. Multifunction global encoder per fader. As you can see, SI Performer offers the user a lot. We'll come back to many of these features in a little more detail in some other chapters. Let's begin our tour of the control surface with the global encoders. These provide direct access to a number of functions, the faders that are active on the control surface. Nominally, this is the input gain or trim for line sources, and you have direct access to all of these. But it can be changed to be the high pass filter frequency or the channel to left-right pan. If you're mixing to a bus, this control will double as the channel to bus pan control if that bus is stereo. It's worth noting that the global encoders, like many controls on the console, don't always have a function, depending on what you're doing. In this case, the encoder roundel is lit, the display may be blank, and turning the encoder has no function. The concept of one control and one function was pioneered by the SI Compact. SI Performer takes this one step further with an enhanced assignable channel strip. The blue section, nominally labelled in, deals with metering of your channel and bus, phantom power and phase, gain or trim, high pass filter frequency, and high pass filter in and out. The first of the dynamics processors is the gate with attack and release, depth, threshold, sidechain filters for the keying, and metering of the gate open, closed and hold status. The second dynamic section is the compressor with attack, release, makeup gain, threshold and compression ratio. Like the gate, it has an in and out key and a meter, in this case showing gain reduction. The large red section is the equalizer. For the 4 EQ bands, there is gain, there is frequency, and there is Q. On the HF and LF bands, it's possible to change from bell mode to the shelf by rotating the Q past the widest point to click it into shelf mode. The shelf is indicated by the lit shelf icon. The final yellow section shows the isolate status of the selected channel or bus, more on that later, the input or bus delay, the pan, the routing of the channel or bus to left and right and mono, and, as appropriate, left, centre, right panning is active. Although we can see that the assignable channel strip has an encoder and a scale for every function, this is augmented on the LCD screen by something we call function focus. When you adjust any control on the assignable channel strip or the global encoders, that function is displayed along with its partner controls in the group on the LCD, giving absolute detail of exactly what settings have been applied. This covers all of the controls on the ACS, the global mode as we mentioned, and functions like the graphic EQ, giving you a full view of where all of the faders on the graphic EQ are set. Soundcraft Fader Glow lights the way to easier mixing. Using a predefined set of colours assigned to each of the fader types, it's very clear to see what each fader is doing. Yellow is used to indicate a pre-fade bus master or a send from a channel that's pre-fade. Green is a bus master nominally post-fade or a send from a channel that's post. Cyan indicates a stereo channel whose source is the output of an effects engine. Magenta is for a stereo input not being used for an effects. Orange is the colour of a matrix master or a bus feeding a matrix. Blue is for VCA masters. White is for DMX controller channels. And if we open up the graphic EQ, Red is the colour of graphic EQ bands. There are 4 fader layers on the console, all fully assignable, as we'll see later on. The default settings are designed to get you working as quickly and easily as possible. Layer A are the first bank of mono inputs. Layer B are additional mono inputs and faders that control stereo channels. Layer C, the faders are normally assigned as your mix masters and your VCA masters. And layer D is where you'll find your matrix masters, some unassigned faders, and the DMX masters. In version 1 software, accessing the DMX layers is Alt plus layer A, B, C or D to bring up the DMX controller faders. Once the layer is active, you navigate just by pressing the keys. To exit, press the active key, or you can use Alt and a layer key to jump directly to the layer that you want.